Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, just a quick question off of that. Is the tiny house market, is it booming right now?
Yeah, because of all the real estate prices, maybe. I don't know. That's what a good question, because the tiny house is so to frankly answer it is not really. I mean, I guess kind of. There's been so many companies that have spun out of where that originally spun out of, which is the 2008, 2009 recession, Great Recession. And a lot of that psychology came from, and it's sort of my theory, but it's also half true, is like from the Occupy Wall Street reaction to the overheated housing economy and the over lending. And if anybody listening has watched The Big Short on Netflix or wherever else, that kind of explains it really well. So the tiny houses kind of were born out of that, because they were our generations. I'm assuming you're a millennial too, Lee, or close to it. But that was our reaction of like, we're tired of the big McMansions. Maybe taking on a giant debt isn't a good idea. And it really exploded out of there. So since then, we'll get inquiries to still build them. I think we're like a higher end designer and builder for them. So people, as soon as they hear this, like kind of the sticker shock, and it usually ends up being like $1,000 a square foot, right? So if you're building a 2,000 square or a 200 square foot tiny house, gets to 200K pretty quick, and then people kind of back off and back down. But I still see them all around Colorado, like especially in Lyons, Colorado. There's this tiny house hotel. It's like kind of like a hostel environment, not hostile, but you know what I mean if you've been to Europe. And they're still renting them up there. Like I think it's called We Casa Tiny House Hotel. And it seems like we end up building like one a year. But yeah, that's kind of my take on where the tiny house market is right now. So I'll be interested to see if there is truly an implosion of the housing economy, as all the doom and gloomers have been saying. We're certainly in a recession, but if anything's born out of there, maybe there's a rebirth of the tiny house stuff.
Okay, so honestly, I'm not aware that the doom and gloomers are saying that there's going to be a housing crisis. I can remember, obviously I've seen The Big Short, but I can remember us talking about, hey, we have all these, subprime loans that are going to default, but they've been mixed with, these certain types of bonds, and that's what's going to cause this crisis. Is there something like that going on currently?
Yeah, they started mixing products again in that way. I mean, every time you get a mortgage, it always gets resold and repackaged, and then they still do the derivatives. They're just calling the derivatives different stuff. But fundamentally, the lending guidelines are vastly changed from 2008, during that whole crisis to now. And the one thing that I can point to that is proof of that is back in the day, pre-Great Recession, what really triggered what made it so that people who didn't qualify for the loans possible is one big thing is they didn't have to even put down any like proof of income. I mean, they could just lie on the paper basically. And then the other thing is the appraisers were talking to the banks directly, and now that's illegal. So like if a crazy heated offer came in, let's say you put your house in the market for $500K in 2007. If everybody was buying because the money was so cheap, there was a lot of like house hacking, quote unquote, where people are trying to get rentals, the rental portfolio up. Let's say that $500,000 house, there was a bidding war and it got bid up to $600,000, but it's not really worth that much. And so the appraisers would get shown the offers, and then they would appraise up to that level, and it was pure cronyism. So those two fundamental things changed. So I'm a bull when it comes to real estate. So I think we're in a recession in the sense of, or a downturn. Like obviously prices have went down 10, 20%, maybe even 30% in some metro areas, but the fundamentals are a lot better. So I don't think we're going to see a full meltdown. But then again, I think First National Bank, didn't that just go down? So if we see a liquidity crisis, who knows? Boom and bust every time.